Biloxi, Mississippi, obviously on the extreme eastern edge of Hurricane Ida's damage path. But just up the street at Keesler Air Force Base is where the hurricane hunters lie. This group of men and women went up in the air and they tracked this storm all the way from last Thursday all the way until it made landfall. And when it made landfall, the hurricane hunters had to make their own decision and leave. It's a return home from a long week.
Whenever you have a high-end Category 4 storm that makes landfall, it's going to be one that you remember.
The hurricane hunters tracking Ida, flying right into the eye of the storm for several days.
You know, the pressure was down to about 930 when it made landfall, which is extraordinarily low. So that's something that, you know, when we were fixing the storm and seeing the data come in, it was definitely, we knew it was going to be a bad situation, and we just hoped that everyone had prepared and listened to the National Hurricane Center and emergency managers ahead of time. It does add an element to kind of our mission planning, and it also gives it a little bit personal feel too when you have the storm heading close to where you're from.
Captain Garrett Black was one of the first pilots to fly Hurricane Ida.
Those are very significant to really get out there and see what's going on under the hood for the first time, to see where that center's at, and that really helps the forecasters then kind of understand what's going on under the hood, as well as let the weather models begin to get a better grasp of what's going on with the storm as well.
What started out as a disturbance in the tropics.
These storms, it went from a Category 1 to a high-end Category 4 within 24 hours. Unfortunately, the National Hurricane Center did a great job of forecasting that. But yeah, it's the more you are prepared ahead of time, the more safe you are.
Became a destructive storm across southeast Louisiana.
Took very similar paths as other major hurricanes, so it's interesting to see how they kind of all evolve, but at the end of the day, each storm is completely different than the other. And we often talk about every single time we go through the storm, it kind of forms different characteristics.
And obviously this group is known as the hurricane hunters. They do more than just track hurricanes. They track meteorological events on the West Coast and even those awful nor'easters during the winter months. In Biloxi, Mississippi, for WeatherNation, I'm Tony Russell.